Well, guys, welcome to another episode of Check the IV. My name is Jewel. I am your host, and I'm super excited for this episode. I've known this man for quite some years, through my
Mhm.
college and through all of our little mini projects that we've done, and just because I'm a big fan of your music and you're
Um,
just your voice. It's amazing. Welcome to the show, Lendryx. Oh my gosh.
hey, I'm happy to finally be here. This is so
Yes.
dope. Yeah, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. This has been quote unquote a long time coming in the sense of us kind of like fully like sitting down to have a conversation and that has
Absolutely, because
nothing
we
to do
chop it
with
up.
work. Yes, we
Right,
chop
we
it
chop
up.
it up.
That has nothing to do with a project or work or whatever. But like
Mhm.
I just I I mean, I've been a fan for years. We've collaborated a lot in the sense of writing and just sharing each other's work and just
Sure.
promoting and just giving each other's flowers. So I think it's awesome that you're here. And I mean, the whole season this
Yeah,
year is
you're
giving creatives their platform so they can come and express what they've been doing, behind the scenes or in front of, on the scene. So I'm excited to talk to
absolutely
you about it and see what you've
for
been
sure.
doing and
Woo.
your just journey into it. You've come a long
Yes,
way.
we can definitely get into some things. This is a lot going, but I'm just happy to still be in a creative space and really just appreciating like whatever shape that it is taking at the moment and just understanding that like okay like nothing stays the same, so thinking of that and always in a positive viewpoint, right?
Right.
um, just for one example, like I had been pretty consistent with like iTunes and charting and this, that, and the third, which is again another blessing. But streaming was always kind of like out of my scope. And then last year, it was just boom, like here are all the streams, here are all the playlisting and things like that. So definitely with that, I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. Like I see, I see what you're doing, universe, God, whatever you believe in. Hey, like let me just trust the process and really just like focus on that creative space.
Right.
So yeah,
I love that. No, I love it. Um you have such a good spirit. Like, I mean, you can see it evoke through not just because I've seen and been around you, but just through your actions, through your tweets, through your posting, just how you release music and how transparent you are about your music and your art creating and collaboration and all of this stuff. So it's good to hear that. It's good to see that it's a part of your journey. It's genuine. So I love it. I love it. Before we get into
for
the
sure.
nitty-gritty of what's to come, because you got a lot coming down the pipeline. But let's give our viewers and our listeners just a little bit of background about where you're from, who is Lendryx, how did you get started into creating music? How did that come into play?
Okay, well, ooh, it's the journey. as, as
It's the
as my
journey.
sister, listen, I love that song so much. It has carried me through the pandemic. Um, yeah, my name is Lendryx. That is actually my first name. And it's crazy because I had this really cool artist name from the jump. My mama gave it to me, and I was like, nope, I don't want that as an artist name. Mainly because, like, as a kid, especially growing up in Alabama, it was very much like Lendryx, that's different. So we're gonna make fun of you for it. So I really shied away from it. My first artist name was Sean B. And then in 2014, I was in the Air Force at the time, and I was in Guam, and I just had this awakening. It's like, oh, you should be DRYX, like, and so I was DRYX from 2014 on to then, and and again, I kind of had the same kind of like clicking in my brain, I think 2022, where it's just like, sir, use your whole name. Like, like you use your whole name. It's dope. And I think again, like growing up and then moving outside of Alabama, I've really like most of everyone that I meet is like, oh wow, that's a cool name. Like
Right.
I was able to kind of like gain confidence in it again. So, but yeah, I started off in um, a hip hop group. I kind of like forced my way into it. One of my good friends, he was in the group and he stayed right behind me. So I was like, I want to sing, I want to participate. So I was like their hook guy for the longest time. And then I was like, I'm part of this group now. Like the hottest songs that, you know, people are clamoring about, it's the ones I'm singing on. So yeah, I'm part of it now. So I was in that, and I actually did the same thing. And two of my best friends were in a Christian rock group. I was like, I want to sing. I want to be a part of this. So I got up on that keyboard. I started playing chords, and I was singing. So it's so funny because you know that one clip of Kelly saying that she's the second lead vocalist of the group.
Yes.
That was me in the Christian rock group. I was the second lead vocalist, and I did not
Okay.
mind my spot. Listen, let's go.
You
I knew.
owned it. You owned
Listen,
it.
I them violins. They knew when them came in. Listen, we was getting down to it. But so yeah, that was that. I was in a I eventually formed like an R&B group called 2K Soul of two other guys that were really great singers in the area. I was in a gospel group, and all that time I was still in band, concert band, marching band, jazz band, and show choir. I was doing it all, playing trumpet.
Oh my God.
So
You
it was
you
crazy.
are true to this. You're not
Not
new
only
to this.
that, I was also still the engineer and the recording engineer for all those groups that were I was singing in. I was writing, I was composing and arranging still for like the marching bands,
Wow.
um, which is really crazy. I think I'm in school now and I'm doing a lot of work um, with arranging and orchestration and stuff like that. And if anybody's listening to this, if you have a kid that has any sort of like talent, like make sure you're like fostering it, because I just wonder if my band director, because I would write some songs where it was like, all right, this is a little too hood for, you know, our demographic. Like I made like Top Back and Nuck If You Buck, and this is how we do it. And I was just arranging it for the band, but he was like, a little too, you know,
Ethnic.
instead of yeah, instead of just saying like, all right, well, instead of these songs, why don't you arrange this? But it was just like a flat no, and so I fell off it until I got back into it while I'm in school. So,
Wow.
but everything happens for a reason. But I'm still very much an advocate of just like, hey, if you see like an ounce of talent, like let's see where it goes. Like
Yeah.
you never know.
You never
Um,
know. I
mm,
love that. No, you're not new to this. You're true to this. I didn't know the extents of your music background. Like you've
mm,
been in like several bands, several groups, and not
mm,
only have you, been a vocalist on these groups or in these groups, you have composed, arranged, produced, and engineered majority of all of the music, which is very like a lot. I mean, I'm just getting into music and
mm.
me, I'm a writer. So it's just that's a level that you surpass. You surpassed a lot of levels to when it comes to being a musician, being multi-hyphenate in these different skill sets of vocal arrangement, engineering, songwriting, and composing. It's a lot to want and to
It,
hone in, and then also to get better and master. It's also very difficult. So that's amazing. That's amazing. So you mentioned that you were in the military or in the Air Force.
mhm.
Tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that. How did you get started in that? And then how has that collided or, come to face with your music making? I'm so curious about that.
Mhm. So even just to go back, I started recording music, like I said, with my friend. That was in 2007. And so 2007 to 2012, I was in the mix of those bands, doing my own stuff. I want to say around, yeah, 2011, when I was, one of my other friends was like, you need to make your own music. Yeah, I see you in all these groups and that's fine, but like you are, it was like one of the first moments where someone told me that I was special. And it's crazy because that person, they're also still very prominent in making music today. So I felt like even just with the journey of things going on, like I'm glad I listened to them because they knew what they were talking about. And yeah, so 2011, I actually, it was right before I joined the military. I released my first mixtape called Ambience.
Mm,
And it was kind of like, I love all the different eras of R&B. So I'm not like a real R&B like enthusiast. I'm like, no, like all of it is beautiful to me. Expression and people figuring out, okay, how does my soul bleed on this record? And just
right.
because it doesn't look the same as somebody else's, I'm going to discount it. No. And so I just take from those different areas, and that was what Ambience was about. And a month later, I joined the military, April 2012. Um, I One of my main reasons for joining was to get the benefits out of it, like the educational benefits that I'm using right now,
Hmm.
and to make sure that I had something else to lean on when the creativity isn't necessarily paying my bills.
Right.
So I went in for cybersecurity, and that's what I did. And even just being able to go to different places, meet different people, talk about different experiences, many of which I wasn't necessarily having myself, but it still was like, okay, I can write about that.
Right.
And I want to say from 2012 to 2016, those were like a lot more years forming my own sound as an artist and gaining those experiences and traveling the world and really just kind of like figuring out, okay, like what does, Sean B at the time eventually came into DRYX
Right.
sound? What is that sound? So again, still engineering things myself and working with different producers and sounds and lots of covers and things like that, and kind of like formed all of it formed my debut album, Player Three,
Play
which released
three.
in 2016 while I was in Turkey. I was stationed in Turkey. That was such a crazy year because we were locked down on base because it was like all sorts of like crazy stuff going on in the area. There was a whole like military coup that happened like while we
Wow.
were there, low flying aircraft and just shooting and like all sorts of
Wow.
crazy stuff. So to me, like Player Three is definitely like a triumph because not only like for myself, but then I saw that on base, so many people were willing to do things for me um, because I was able to do that here, and like it brought a lot of relief and excitement to my military friends. We
Hmm.
had a nice like that was my first release party I ever had. It was super
Wow.
cool, and even from that, like so, this is like is this tea? No, no, it's just a story. So, so while I was in Turkey, again, it was like a tough time for us, but Tori Kelly was going to come to perform for
Mhm.
us for I think the 4th of July, and they had asked me if I wanted to open for her. There was a conflict, so they eventually said like, "Hey, no, like
Mm.
you're not gonna open. She's just gonna come and it's gonna do fine." But that's how the base was trying to ride for me after my album dropped.
They were trying to put you on. Yeah.
And I
I love
just
that.
really appreciated it. Um, so the Friday before, I think the Sunday she was supposed to come, it's canceled. She doesn't
Oh
want to come. I
no.
think it was like they're trying to figure out like how comfortable or safe she would have been. I think
Yeah.
that was kind of like what I heard at least, which again, like I understand, like it's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, it did suck for us because we were like, damn, like that would have been like a really great mood booster, a
Right.
morale booster for the base. So they had asked me, again, the person who was just told that he can't open for her. It was like, all right, well, you're doing the show now. And so that was like we spent the whole weekend just like trying to find a band, other people to sing, and we really like that was like probably one of my favorite moments.
Wow.
Just being in the military and like you're constantly put in situations where you have to like it's a test of your resilience, and that's what we named the band, like Resilience Band.
Resilience.
And did another show, and it was really cool. Outside of that, like I think that the Air Force just again it enabled me to be here in California in general
Hmm.
because as soon as I got out in 2018, I drove here with my best friend. He got stationed here in LA, and
Hmm.
I was like, "You're gonna roommate. It's expensive up there."
Yeah.
So I ended up just working on LA Air Force Base
Uh-huh.
as doing the same cybersecurity stuff that I was doing in the Air Force, which has honestly, it'll be 6 years on the 15th that I've been here in
Wow.
LA.
Wow. You're
So it's
basically a
great.
native.
Honestly, right.
Yeah.
To get
I
my
mean, I've been
accent.
here for, well, I've been here for like a year and some change. And
Mhm.
I'm so fresh. I feel so green still, even though
Listen, I still don't know what that meant.
it is.
I
It's
need to add.
amazing. It's
I need the
amazing.
direct address every time.
GPS
'Cause
on all the time.
like Amorphous, one of my great friends that I met out here, he
Shout out to
had some event.
Amorphous. Love Amorphous.
Yes, we could talk about that stuff too. But he had invited me to some event. It was at some, I guess, restaurant or apartment, but there was two of the same one in an area, and I went to the wrong one. I said, no, next time I don't need a name, I don't need an area. Send me the address. I want to see the zip code and everything. I want to see the little three. You know how you have the zip code and then the dash and
The
then the three numbers
dash
after
and
that?
then the three.
I want that. I need that.
I need
Ciao.
the full area code, baby. The full zip code.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. No, wow.
Please.
That's amazing. This season is all about creative pivots and seeing that you had this this dream and this goal of becoming a musician and becoming a recording artist has always been embedded in you. You like all of us, with independent creative careers or backgrounds, we need stability. And you sought that stability within the Air Force, And one thing I loved to hear about your perspective was you did not say anything negative about your experience there. You were very embracive of that time that you had, that camaraderie that you built. And the
Mm,
fact that it nurtured your music abilities and your music skill set and your creative uh needs. That's a thing that we as creatives need to do. They supported you and
absolutely.
helped you get all of these you know things to be able to do what you needed to do and what you wanted to do, which was, I love that. That's a great tribe. That's a great people, just a support base, fan base, like you could say, but
Mhm.
just a support base. And I
Yeah.
mean, we all have those, I think, as creatives, people that we can go to and say, hey, like I need this, or I think that one time uh you were like, hey, I need a poem. And I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, hold on, give me like a minute. And that's when I wrote Shapeshifter. That was the first
Hmm.
piece that I had written for someone else. Like you were the first piece that I had written
Oh
for someone.
wow.
Yeah. Never had written a
That
piece
was
of
so.
writing for someone else. And I was just like, wow. And then when I heard it coming to like life, I was just like, oh my God, the butterflies that I get, not just because of the words,
Oh,
but how you evoke them and the vision of everything goes. So it's like, I love that it helps build a tribe and helps build a creative network that you're going to need through your journey. So that's
absolutely. And
amazing.
it's not about. I like the way you said that because it's not about like. Because a lot of people like to use the whole like work across and then be nice because quote unquote you don't know where somebody's going to be later. But it's like, how about you just do that just because
Yeah.
like you're a good decent person. It doesn't matter whether they're going to be or who are they going to see, or who they're going to meet, and this time and the third. Like, can y'all create something dope? And does do you guys mesh? Because there is like I had to break out of my own shell of just being like so because I am so what's the word? I guess independent and
Mhm.
self-sufficient. It's very much like I could do all of this. Well, okay, like looking at my fave, Beyonce, like she does not mind invoking help. Like, come on, like let's do this writers camp. Let's get
Yeah.
this. Let's taken care of. You produce this. Okay, that's dope. You create these sounds. All right, let's do it. And so I'm attempting to do more with that as of now because woo, because I got like it's a lot more going on, so I have to manage a lot more.
Right.
So that's my thing is like, okay, let's delegate to some really dope people. That way they're part of these things.
Yeah.
One of my goals for this year next is to start doing more paid sync opportunities. That way it's like, okay, boom, this song gets placed on, a TV show on Netflix. That's not
Yes.
just me, not
Music
just me eating.
clearancing, yeah. Music clearancing and
Mhm.
licensing is so important. And like Issa Rae has put a lot of younger or aspiring or up and coming artists on the show just because of songs that she likes and listens to on a daily basis. So you never know. Like it can really trigger and take it off on the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want people to, like I said, being able to give people that gift of, okay, this song that you wrote on got synced for 5 sync opportunities, and I was able to bring you like, even if it's $100 per thing, that's $500 that you
Right.
were able to just cash in on. So learning more about the industry with going to school for sure, which again was enabled by my time in the Air Force, just all flows into each other.
Right. I love it. I love it. I love it. You have ample amount of opportunity. I see not just now, but coming into the future, just with all of these stepping stones that you've already kind of accomplished and already kind of gone through, strode through. Um, Specifically with you've already have mixtapes and previous releases and albums, so you're in this mode of consistently releasing now, and now I'm starting to see elements of visuals coming into play now on your side, so you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to go to evolve now. Like I'm starting to see it, just from even player 3 to now, it's been so much growth, even in the sense of your artist
Yeah.
development, which brings to my next topic is indie artistry. I'm an indie filmmaker and I understand how fun and relieving it is to be an independent creative. Like you get to run your own
Mm-hmm.
stuff and you get to choose what you want to do, and you don't have a lot of nagging and backing on a whole bunch of stuff, which allows this creative freedom.
Right.
But also there's finances and protocols and certain things that you're unable to do, or you have to like reach and strive to get in order to get to these next levels.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I would love to ask you is, how do you define yourself as an indie artist, and what does the term indie artist mean to you in your position now?
Well, it's so funny because I think it's a good thing. Independent artistry is starting to look different, or rather, I think that the the layers of what it can look like are starting to be like unpacked because there's a lot of artists who are indie, but they have a massive financial backing, or they have a deal where it's like, okay, like, yeah, I am independent, but I do have label support. I'm still just intermittent. Talking about distribution deals and management deals, and then again, for me, it's not to paint those people in a negative light, but I do want to always emphasize that we're not all on the same page just because we are independent.
Right.
And like I'm independent with a 9 to 5. Like you know,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
it is just different lanes. So, but as for me, um, you know, I think that there's a lot of power in being an independent artist in 2024 because again, there was a statement by the I think CEO of Spotify that was saying that it's like it costs like zero to make content these days if we're referring to music. And I think that it it can cost you zero to do that, but how good is it going to be if you're
Yeah.
just you have zero budget? And then also just realizing, okay, is it zero budget that you used your $1,000 iPhone to make content?
Mm.
No, but that's the phone that you either paid out or you're paying on.
On.
It ends up being more than what it's actually costing.
Right.
Not out of 10. So no, that you had to buy the outfit, the clothes, you had to make the music, you had to mix and master the music, this, that, and the
Okay.
third. It's just I just don't. But the accessibility is the biggest part. Me being able to network with different um, curators from Spotify and Pandora and independent artists, and it really takes the right people in those places. So I do have to give them credit. But being completely independent and then being able to platform my music next to the majors and the bigger indies has been really a big refresh for my outlook on independent artistry and just understanding it's like it don't matter what era you where you are, you can progress. It just might take you a little longer
Right.
because you don't have that. But also it's just like, do you really want the speed route? Because to me, my first we look at my first vibe
Your
when
vibe
I was
cover.
featured last
Yeah.
year in April for Just My Turn. I was
Mm-hmm.
just thinking, like before I was like, wow, like these publications are just kind of like I'm making great R&B music, but for some reason to me it was just like this is where I want to for if I wanted to pick up from here, I'm happy that it started with Just My Turn,
Right.
which turned into Forces and then Insomnia and now Halfway Open.
Insomnia. Yeah. Insomnia
So
is my song.
listen, I'm ready to do it. Like you said, like visual component. I mean, I've had music videos. I actually watched the one for Scared of Love
Hmm.
a couple of days ago, just to kind of like while I was editing Halfway Open, I was like, wow, I've really just grown, even just my comfortability in front of the camera.
Right.
And so now I'm like, okay, Insomnia visual. I think I want to
Mm.
dive into that. So I gotta like probably end up storyboarding it after finals week is over. And also as an independent artist, realizing that it's okay to use your resources because the
Yes.
guy who shot it, uh, Dario, he was like, hey, like I believe in you, I believe in the vision. Like, let's go. Like we could do something running gun.
Yeah.
And of course I took him out to dinner. It's like I don't have much, but here's dinners and I will edit everything. Like you don't have to edit nothing. I paid for Final Cut Pro probably a year and a half ago. I ain't used it. Let me just get to tinkering around. And
Right.
so even evoked a new passion of mine. It was like, I love this. I used to do those Beyonce Always on Beat videos an iMovie,
Right.
just threads of just like editing. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, oh, okay, this is like a step up and I get it now. So I'm definitely wanting to with this getting out of my head of again asking for help, collaborating with others, and just doing it. Just
Yes.
getting it.
Just make it happen. I know it's easier said than done, but that's my whole
Yeah.
motto at Vision is make things happen, and you're
I would
right.
say like I would say a modern issue though with that is what's because everything has a digital footprint nowadays. Like even
Right.
I have a Beyonce reference for everything. I will refer to her as many times as possible to get a one across. But like of course, we have videos that we find that were honestly like probably the best of her come up, right? What we're allowed to see in the second and the third. Nowadays, like it's every single like I post a video of this concert, it's live, it's on YouTube and mistakes and all. It's not chopped,
Right.
this and the third. I don't necessarily have elite production crews. And so there's an anxiety of okay, somebody's going to bring this back up later, or people really not appreciating even just like the rawness of the
Yes.
voice without like auto tune or a lot of just like post production, this and the third. So I feel like that's a lot of reason why people get in their head about like, like I got,
Releasing. Yes.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
But again,
Yes.
like you just gotta you just gotta be perceived. Like, unfortunately, you kind of just have to accept that times are different. But there are people who do appreciate that, um, the honesty and the rawness
That
of the journey.
transparency. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that.
So
No,
just
I love
finding
that you
that is
mentioned
really
that
cool.
because I had that same issue in college with films.
Mhm.
I created these short films and I didn't think that they were good enough to go to festival, so it's like I invested all this
Mhm.
money into it, invested all these things, and then just like they're sitting there. And it wasn't until the project we worked on, 569, was the first project out of 8 now that we were like, okay, yeah, let's just go push it and see what it does. You have to kind of like get it out there and see what people
Mhm.
are going to receive it. 569 didn't like do good like exposure. Exposure was just like boom, like
Mhm.
it was the go. So, but like the comfortability that you have to have as an artist to be able to relinquish your work without judgment
Mhm.
or without feeling or getting in your head about negative thoughts or reception of the public,
Absolutely.
and all of that stuff is so hard. I'm struggling with
Yeah.
it right now in
Then,
my music just because
yeah.
I've written so much music in the last year and a half, and they're all demos, like very
Yeah.
rough, did it in Logic or in GarageBand,
Mhm.
basic plugins, nothing crazy, like very stripped
I mean,
down.
I will
So
say, yeah. I mean, I will say like well, the biggest thing that gets me to releasing stuff now is like, do you hear what's going viral? Do you hear what's on Billboard? Like,
let's talk about
and
it.
like they put it out, and again, there's different engines behind that, but then you will never have the opportunity of having that be for you if it's on your hard drive.
Right.
Like, nobody's going to discover you if it's on your computer, sweetie, unless you get hacked. And then, but
Okay.
they're not there for that. They're not there for that, sweetie. So
Yeah, they want to hear it. They want to hear it, babes. They want to hear it. So you're
you
right.
have
It's not
to
gonna do
do it.
injustice on a hard drive or on your computer, or you have to have that risk, to put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it takes us being vulnerable, with our music or what we're saying,
Mm-hmm.
um,
And
but
then being accepting of like the positive and negative feedback that comes with it,
right.
because there's no like you're not going to grow if you don't expose yourself a little bit.
Hmm.
Like,
You got to expose yourself.
um,
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that.
mhm.
Um, well, you also have gone through, to me, like I feel like since we were talking, we love Beyonce. Yes, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
We love her. And I'm from Houston, so I'm a little biased.
I mean, who
But
wouldn't be? But
who
I've also
wouldn't
seen people from Houston just be like, "Oh yeah, no," which I'm like, "Oh, but sure, everybody
um
has a thing."
I I'm biased since day one. I probably will stand for that woman like for everything. But
Listen,
one thing that our fave loves and has mastered within not just her music and her discography, but just in her brand, like
Mhm.
Parkwood and anything that she attaches her name to, she creates it within the form of an era. And the
Mhm.
eras are immense and they've grown over the years. Now we are in 2024, it's Act Two. We are very much Cowboy Carter down. And we
Mhm.
have only touched the brink of this, as in, there's so much more to come within this era, just as we experienced in Renaissance, that there was layers and
Mhm.
layers and layers of not just music releases, but not just a tour, but fashion and
Mhm.
exhibitation and so much that was just from one finite concept that has blown up into
Absolutely.
this big thing. So I want your intake on era building and why is it important for artists to think of building narrative or conceptual thoughts when it comes into making
Mhm.
music or releasing any type of marketing or promotional visuals or all of these things that add up to whatever the grand release is. If it's an album, world tour, whatever,
Yeah.
uh, why is that so significant and how does it set you apart from the regular, degular, schmegular artist that
Mhm.
is just what she say, pumping out them quick, hot little singles, you know,
Right.
why does that so important and to you in the sense of that as looking up to like a Beyonce or a Rihanna or I mean
Right.
any of our great artists, they've all had multiple eras in
Yeah.
their careers.
Hey, it's Andre, head of talent at The Aspect and The Aspect Social and Culture. Enjoying the episode? We've got a variety of unique shows and perspectives ready for you to explore. So be sure to subscribe. Continue your episode, and thanks for watching.
For sure. I think that eras are important, but I think that my main thing, especially with consumer expectations in the streaming era, you have the bigger artists like Beyonce who have the financial backing to do and those really big eras with, I mean, hell, Beyonce not doing videos, but that's a choice. Just like she can definitely afford. I mean, she has visuals, right, for
Right.
Renaissance. We just don't have them. We had the Renaissance tour and the film and things like that. And so I'm often kind of like, a few people ask, like, okay, what are the big illustrious music videos anymore? And people are just like dropping album and album, album, and album. I'm just kind of like, you have to remember that the money is not the same as it was before. So it's harder to just create those eras. I think my most recent example that I love to do is Hot Pink for Doja Cat, because initially the era did not like just pop off like that. I think you had Juicy that was out, but Juicy was on the previous
It
project.
was on Amala. Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
Tyga hopped on it, and they just put it on a Hot Pink. But I think like it wasn't until Say So probably like started spinning up during the
It
pandemic.
was
And
wild. It was wild how, speaking of just that album, like it started to dissect, like they started to take
yes,
each song and say, okay,
like each song was like boom, boom, like boom, boom. But we don't like, and if that didn't happen, likely the label wouldn't have been so willing to just be like, even just like with the Streets video that went viral on TikTok because of the challenge. They were like, okay, let's go do a video. Like, let's capitalize off this moment.
right.
And so I would say that consumers should just like allow or give artists a little more grace if the
Mm,
eras don't look the same as they used to. But also, if there are big artists who are very much that, just like, here's the next album, girl. Like, here we go, boom, we'll put it out. Okay, next year, here's the next album. So, and then it just makes us fatigued. Like,
right.
we're like, can you please take a break?
Yes, it's
with
an
myself.
overload. It's an overload of
Mhm.
I see that a lot with the artists, they will start and they'll get their big thing, but then they're literally everywhere, trying to keep up with,
Mhm.
that clout or that ride of the wave that they've started or they've embarked on. And
Mhm.
like going back to
The way that,
Doja, you talked about
yeah.
that Hot Pink, even though Hot Pink was just very like it lasted for like an hour, 2 years, like within span of
Mhm.
music. But then like it was so different from what we got afterward, which was Planet Her
Right.
and
Kind of her, another good era.
another great era. Like it was like a world, it was like I was like, wow, this is even from just the visual with Kiss Me More, and it was just like
Mhm.
the mind of her conceptualization for this project was immense. Like you could see that
Absolutely.
it was not just, oh, these songs are cute and they sound good and I think I should like build a world to it. No, it was very thought out. It was very structured and you can tell that it was
Mhm.
intentional, instead of
Right.
yeah, like it wasn't like on accident, So I love
Right.
that
So for
you
me,
mentioned that as a reference.
I I'm doing my own bit of like world building with this next project,
Mhm.
and just kind of I have a message that I mean I've been talking to a few friends about it, and just I don't really I didn't necessarily have any project that I could lean on in these kind of like in between spaces of relationships where it's like um you're not in a relationship, like you're single, but like you got you got somebody that you really just like locked in on, and
Right.
just kind of like navigating the social expectations of like, okay, like after 3 months we should be this place, and just understanding that's just that there's no rules to what love is, and you could really be super you could experience like love of your life experiences with someone, and it just that relationship looks different from what you're normally seeing on TV or whatever, and the expectations of that. So this album that I'm working on is just kind of like, I mean, how you start with like Just My Turn, and sing where it's just like,
Mhm.
well, was I just somebody you just hooking up with? Forces, we talk about like being like honestly just having sex with somebody and you start catching feelings and you're trying to
Right.
fight off those things, but it's like fighting off a freaking hurricane. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're just not you have to ride the wave. Insomnia, where it's just kind of like you're longing for someone that keeping you up at night, and
Right.
halfway open, where it's just like, okay, well, we're not ready for a relationship right now, but like just keep that flow of love going. Just keep that don't crack. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
But that
So
song, I told you I love that song, but that song is like you just described it very like how I feel it in the sense I was in a period
um,
in that I related to that. It's like we can't be together at this moment, but it's keeping you in this loop. Like I felt like that's what it was. Like it's this loop. And
right.
it's like an insomnia,
And
like you
I'm
like you
not
can't sleep. Right.
yeah. I think that again, it's normally painted as if it's like a bad thing, and it can be in a lot of cases. A lot of people cannot handle that sort of situation, that sort of emotional vulnerability, where it's just kind of like, yeah, we're doing our own separate things, but I'm not going to mistreat you. I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to do this, that, and the third. And when I want more, I truly cannot get it from you, then I'm going to go somewhere else, and I'll let you know that.
Yes.
But I wanted to like halfway open. I wanted it to be like a positive spin. Like it's not a bad thing to be, I guess, down bad for somebody. Like just sitting in the love is where like I want this album to be, and it comes with frustrations. There's songs on the project that aren't so happy, so lucky. It's like, all right, sir, like I am who I am. So
Be who
like,
you are.
I mean, even in halfway open, it was like I got plenty men, I got pretty girls calling. Like let's not get it twisted. Like I
Let's
could
talk.
have somebody else.
Clock it, and let them know.
But I love what we're doing, and I really, and again, just there's so many. I feel like people are lonely when they could not be,
Mhm.
and are depriving themselves of experiences that could go well.
Mm.
But again, they just have this like, all right, 1 month we're doing this, month two we're doing that. Like, when has life ever been that structured?
It's you. I'm learning that so much. You know, I mean, speaking on a personal note, I have had this plan for my life. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna on a date and I'm gonna get married. And then like
Mhm.
when I get my nomination the next day, I'm gonna go get a child. I'm gonna go literally start the process of getting a child because I feel financially stable
Period.
by then. You know, like I felt that's what I want to do. And as I come into more of this world in this age, you know, I'm starting to see that all of that stuff is out the window when it comes
it's,
to love,
it's crazy.
career, even my creative
Hmm.
endeavors. Like DRYX, I did not start doing anything music wise. You know, I've always been a visual, like film,
Hmm.
TV, film, TV, film, TV. So me jumping into music and changing my writing format from writing on screen to writing in 18 to 16 bars now is, or 8 to 16 bars is kind of like different. You know, it's different, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like I had planned on that to be a thing. Or, you know, just like, you know, like you didn't plan for certain things to happen in your relationship, or your relationships to occur like that. There was no structure or no plan on how that was going to
Hmm.
outcome. And that's beautiful. So let's talk about this album. Let's talk about this album. I kind of want to get a little exclusive, you know. So you mentioned
Loose.
a little exclusive, you know. So you mentioned that you're coming with this new project. We've seen that you've been actively releasing with, you know, Forces, Insomnia, Halfway Open, great songs. Um,
Somebody called me the hardest working independent artist they know, and it was really like mind blowing to me because I'm like, yeah, I am working hard. I am working hard.
You are. That is a lot. Like, to me, that's inspiring. One, because I mean, shoot, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to my demos thinking like, well, which one should I go with? Which one should I, you know, think? But like you are
Feel free to
so
send me.
anything, you're so free into it. So it's like it's admirable to see an independent artist on your scale getting things done, releasing them like professionally. Like if I didn't say you were an independent artist, you would have thought that you had some type of management team, label, or something kind of
Well,
backing you a little bit in the sense of that.
so I can give you just a small other exclusive. So I had like a showcase
Mhm.
about a month ago, and I was offered an indie record label deal with 370 Group,
Ooh.
and I haven't signed nothing yet, but yeah, that was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, cool. Like I already knew that I was worth these things, but
Mhm.
something tangible, just being like, okay, it just really clicked with me. And so
Right.
definitely gonna make sure it's the right deal and the right, placement where I want to be. But hopefully it will springboard me to, other and bigger things. But yeah,
Yes.
that's I haven't really announced that yet.
Congratulations. You know, we love that. But that's the growth, you know, that's the growth of that. So it's like seeing that and seeing how your rollouts are going. And I think what's more admirable is like a lot of musicians start music and and they kind of like get into this, groove, like, they get the hype going, they drop a song or a couple of songs, and then they kind of like go away. So, but you've been adamantly consistent throughout the years, like from the first project all the way into now. So it's very admirable. So I'm super excited to when this project is going to be, ready
Yeah,
and released, and I might have you back
I keep trying
on
to put deadlines.
so we could talk about
I
it
keep
a
trying
little
to
bit
put
more in depth.
right. I keep trying to put deadlines on it, but like I'm just kind of like, especially the summer, just I definitely want to wrap things up. So I don't plan on releasing any other singles until the album is done.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
I'm super excited. So, one thing that I always ask all my guests, I love and appreciate you for coming onto the show and sharing. Just like it's going to be really good because I have a lot of friends that are musicians and a lot of people that are into music. And I think you're the prime example or a great example to share your testimony and just like how this really goes. And like, it's there is no wrong way or right way to do it. As you said, everyone has
Absolutely.
their own journey when it comes into independent creating and independent artistry. So what is a gem that you could leave with our visionaries and our jewels out there?
I think the best attribute that everyone can share, even though we're all on our different journeys, is consistency.
Mhm.
Um, Even just with my last year, I made a commitment. I'm like, I'm releasing something officially once every quarter. That was my mandate. And it turned out really great for me. Um, and it's not to say that you have to like doing the same thing as I did means you'll get the same results, but you will see your own results by
Right.
being consistent, whatever you're passionate at doing. Um, you have to understand that, again, just like I make a Beyonce restaurant for everything, like you got to be humble, you got to rehearse, you have to expose yourself. Yeah, and even in that consistency, you can't allow though that fear of being a novice or that fear of being again perceived, or a lot of people like to be like, oh, I don't want to get dragged. So okay, like you gotta, like Lauryn Hill got booed on, you know, what was it called? Showtime at the Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Just was named top album of all time in Apple
On Apple
Music.
100. Yeah.
So it's just like you got to have the ability to remain consistent even in the face of those improvements, because those improvements are going to bring you results.
Right.
And for me, my biggest thing is like, all right, well, you put out this one visual for halfway open, like you have visual before, but like, okay, cool, like we definitely need to see another visual before the end of the year. Like, let's keep going it because
Yeah.
that's the area that needs improvement. So that's my gem, honestly and truly. Like songwrite as much as you can. Like even if you don't release it, be consistent with your songwriting. Be consistent. If you want to get in Logic and be more comfortable with it, you got to get into it. You schedule like a couple times a week, at least an hour. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? You want to get better at the piano. Want to do your own vocal lessons. You can get on YouTube University and do what you got to do. Like, be consistent and do what it takes in order for that consistency to happen.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Top line, consistency. Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Lendryx, thank you so much for coming on to Check the IV. And I definitely would love to have you back on when the album
Yeah,
drops, and we can definitely do a deep dive on just where you
we can
are.
go track
Like,
by track.
we can go track by track. We love that.
Track
We
by
love
track.
it.
Hopefully, I have braids then.
Oh, look, listen, we can.
Mm-hmm. Let's get on what is it, the braids?
All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
thank you
so
for
much.
having me.
And we wish you the best. And oh, before we leave, you have
What's
a
tea?
show coming up. I gotta plug
I
that
have,
in. I gotta plug that
I
in.
have two shows coming up. So I have
Ooh.
my first festival for Juneteenth. It's in El
Uh-huh.
Segundo. Yeah, it's going to be on June 15th. But I'm really excited for it. Festival showing, got a full band and everything. I go on at 12:15. And then I have a headline show at Hotel Cafe.
Uh-huh.
So the first show, the June 2 show, is free. You just come as you are. The headlining show is going to be $20. It's at 9:30 on June 27th at Hotel Cafe. I believe that's in Hollywood.
I
But
think it's
again,
I think it's in the Hollywood area. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm super excited for that. Gonna have a full band for that too. And
Yes.
yeah, listen, I'm excited. But listen, July and August. Ooh, that's I'm trying to make those grind time
I love it.
for
Well, we're gonna
getting done.
be supporting you all summer until that release, and definitely we love you, and we're just sending you all your love and your flowers. So congrats on just all of your success and your upcoming shows, and just we will see you soon. I can't wait to have you back.
Oh yes, I can't wait to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and as always, check the IV.